All right, let me start by what I generally like to do is take a look at the problem at hand or what we're planning to do first, and then sort of come up with an attack mode and how I am going to handle this drawing. So this is the shell of the building. When I say the shell of the building, I mean the outside walls and the shared spaces like toilet rooms, or in other buildings there might be stairs or elevators, etc. So this building has columns here, and they are on a 20-foot grid. So they're 20 feet apart by 20 feet wide. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 rows and 1, 2, 3, 4 columns of them. So that'll be the first thing that we do. And then there is some glazing or glass or storefront or curtain wall that's running around the perimeter of the building. And we'll be adding that next. And then last but not least, we have some toilet rooms. Presumably there's a men's and women's toilet room here. So we'll do one of these toilet rooms and then mirror it over on the other side. So that's the plan of attack. Easy enough. So let's dig in. So let me remove this. Pull open AutoCAD, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to start a new document, or new drawing. So go to new and find my jump drive here. Go to the class, go to templates. I'm going to pick my A size template and open it. And then I'm going to flip over to model space. All right, so I've got a clean, fresh drawing, and I am on my walls layer where I want to be. And I'm going to start with the columns. So the columns are, and you should write a few of these dimensions down. If you don't have the drawing in front of you, just take a few notes. The columns are going to be 24 inches by 24 inches. So 2 feet by 2 feet. They're probably like a square concrete column, probably. Well, I don't know for sure. So I will use the rectangle tool to start that. I'll click on rectangle and I'll just pick a point down here, and I'll come up and I will type 24, comma 24. And there is my rectangle. So we've got a 4x4 array, right? We're gonna array that column to have 4 rows and four columns of columns. So I'll choose the array tool here, but I will in particular choose the rectangular array. And by default, AutoCAD sets up for me 3 rows, 1, 2, 3 rows. Rows go across and columns go up and down, and 4 columns. So we want to change that to 4 rows. So I'll go up here, columns are 4, rows are 3. So I'll change that to 4. Now I have 4 rows by 4 rows, and I need to change the spacing. So the spacing between the columns will be 20 feet. There we go. And the spacing between the rows will be 20 feet. And there we go. I'm just going to close the array. And there I have all my column bays all ready to go. Okay, so I'm going to start over here in the lower left, and we're going to start drawing the storefront or the curtain wall or the windows for this first bay over here. And I'm going to start with my line tool, and I'll go right at the midpoint of that column to the midpoint of this column. And
hey, Paul,
yes.
Just a quick question. So, I mean, I know you told us to write down, if this was reality though, they would give us the spacing between the columns. I mean, we see we see that it's 20 feet across, so you just assume it's always 20 feet down as well?
No, you would not make that assumption. You would have to measure that or ask the landlord or the owner if it's 20 feet in both directions. But
Okay,
for the purpose of this class, I'm telling you.
okay, good, okay, thanks.
All right, so we have in this bay, the curtain wall or the storefront or the glass is 6 inches thick. So I'm going to offset 6 inches, and I'm going to offset to the outside. And I'm also going to offset to the inside. So on the outside here is going to be the glass, and on the inside, this is a baseboard, that runs along the perimeter of the exterior wall. This is a very common thing to see in buildings, particularly office buildings. But even in residential, you'll have a radiator or you'll have a floor vent or something like that, and that's usually located by the windows. So in this case, that radiator is 6 inches. So I've offset 6 inches to the inside for the radiator and 6 inches to the outside for the glass. All right, now I am going to do a mullion down here, which will be 2 inches thick again. So I'm going to do the line command here, and I'm going to make sure that I have my auto snap reference or reference tracking on, which is this little button right here. And I'm going to hover. I'm not clicking, but I'm hovering over that endpoint, and I'm moving my. Let me just go a little closer. I'm moving my cursor up in the direction, and you'll see that little dotted green line. That tells me that my tracking is on, and I'm just going to type 2 for 2 inches. And what it did was it started my line 2 inches from that starting point that I had down there. So I'm just going to go across perpendicular here, and then just hit enter, and there is my first mullion. Now the spacing between mullions is 51.5 inches. Write that down, 51.5 inches. So I'm going to offset O, enter, 51.5. Hit enter, and then offset up. That is the bottom or the one edge of the next mullion. And now I'm going to just draw the glass line with the line command or line tool from the midpoint of that mullion to the midpoint of this mullion. And now what we'll do is we'll just copy this up and fill up this bay here. So what I'll do is I'll copy all of this, and I'll start from the lower left corner of this mullion to what will be the lower left corner of this mullion. You always want to be consistent. So it could be lower right if you want, but I'm going to choose the lower left corner of this mullion to the lower left corner of this next mullion, which we will construct. So I'm going to choose copy, and I'm going to copy window here to select all 3 of those lines. I could just click, click, click. I could do it that way too, but I used the window. And then I'll hit enter. It's asking me for the base point, which is, I'm going to choose this lower left-hand corner of the mullion. And then I'll go up and choose the lower left-hand corner of that mullion. So there I've got it. I have 2 bays. I'll go up to the next one, 3 bays. Go up to the next one, 4 bays. And I should have a 2-inch mullion right up here that it's created for me. So if you don't have that, then your glass distance is not 51.5 inches. So you want to double check that. Okay, so there, I have 1 bay of glass drawn. So I could go up to this bay and I could start with the line tool and start drawing it, but what we can do is we can just copy this, right? So let's copy, and I'm going to select all of this glass here. And now I want to figure out where my base point and my start point and my end point is going to be. So I'm going to start the base point. I'm going to choose this upper left-hand corner of this column and then I'll go to the upper left-hand corner of this column and the upper left-hand corner of this column. So I'm just going to sort of keep copying up consistently up. So it's asking me for the base point, upper left-hand corner of that column. And then the second point will be upper left-hand corner of that column and upper left-hand corner of this column. There. Now, in what, like 2 minutes, we did the entire left side of the building. So now let's now turn the corner, right? So we could draw this, right? Or we could take this and we could copy it over and then rotate it, right? But what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the mirror command. So up until now, when we use the mirror command, we would take these, and I want to make sure that my ortho is on. And I would select the objects, and then we would pick a mirror line. And what it does is it mirrors those objects exactly equal on both sides of my mirror line. So if my mirror line was this way, it would copy it like that. If my mirror line was actually, if I did the mirror command and I had another bay, I could have done that down there. But what I want to do is I want to mirror this at a 45-degree angle, so it turns 90 degrees. I want this to mirror at 90 degrees. So I'm going to select the objects I want to mirror, and I am going to turn on my polar tracking, and I want to make sure that my polar tracking is set to 45 right now, so I can do 45-degree angles. And I'll choose this line, this intersection right here of the column, and then I'm going to just go up 45 degrees. And notice when it snaps to 45 degrees, it snaps right into place. So that's really nice. So do I want to erase the old the source objects? No, I don't. These are the source objects. So I want to keep those. So no, I don't want to erase them. There I have it. Let's just do it for practice here up on this north bay here. Again, I could, if I wanted, I could take this and mirror it along the midpoint of the baseboard there, and it would come up here just perfectly. But I'm going to mirror it on the 45 degrees again, just for practice. So I'll click mirror, select the mullions I want to mirror. I'll select this point here, and I've got it at 45 degrees. There it is. Just hit it, enter, and erase the source objects. No. There, I've got it. All right, so now the bay comes up in this direction here, and I am going to, I think what I'll do is I'll just regular mirror on this one. I could do the 45 degrees, but I'm just going to do a regular mirror. So I'll click mirror, and I will select those objects there, and I'll start from the midpoint of the mullion here, or the midpoint of the baseboard. Just come up. And there I have that. Now, on the other side of the building, it's virtually identical. You know what? Back here in this middle bay here, there is no glass. There's only a solid wall running back here because we have the bathrooms here, and in general, you know, you don't have windows outside of the bathroom. Sometimes you do, but in this case, we don't. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy this line and this line, and I'll go from this corner of the column, and I'll just go right there. Okay, got that. So now let's just mirror what we've got on this side to this side. So I'll type mirror, MI, and I'll choose all of that glazing right there. and I'll go to that midpoint, come down. Resource objects, no. And there I've got 90% of my building complete. So back here, what I'm gonna, so we've got back here, we're gonna have some double doors that are, well, there'll be a kitchen here, and then a second exit out of the building that, you know, opens onto a patio or whatever. And what this configuration here will be exactly the same configuration down here. So what we'll do is we'll build this here, and then take this configuration with the doors, and then just copy and rotate it or mirror it over and put it over in this spot right over here. So let's start over in this area. So I want to add to some double doors right over here that are going to be facing out or opening out. So I need to open up my my palette here, my tool palette, and I'm just going to pull in an imperial door. That's all I need that for. Just close it. And these are double doors, and the doors are 36 inches wide or 3 feet wide. So the first thing I'll do is adjust the width. By default, when these blocks come in, the door width is 3'4". So I want to change that to 3 feet. Good. I want to change the swing of the door to 90 degrees. And I want to make sure that that door does open outside. Doors need to, particularly in public buildings, doors always need to open in, not always, but most always need, at least the exit doors out of the building need to open in the direction of travel. And that means when you're traveling, you are heading quickly toward an exit. So if you are traveling toward an exit, the doors need to open out. So that means you push the door out, because it's harder to get out of a building in, you know, an emergency situation by pulling the door and then going out. So all right, so this was our one door, and why don't I'll just mirror it now. What the heck? So I'll take it and I'll start endpoint there, just mirror it down, and now I have 6-foot double doors, and those doors are going to be right in the middle of this glass here, and then so there'll be this full light of glass and then a small side light, then the double doors and a side light and full light of glass. So we're going to put this right in the middle, and I think what I'm going to do, just for simplicity right here, is I'm just going to erase. I'm just erasing those mullions for now, just so I can see a little more clearly. So I'll move these two objects, these two doors, and I will start, and I'm going to just choose this endpoint right here, and I will choose the midpoint right there.
Paul, can I ask a quick question?
Yes, of course.
When you mirror the door, when you try to move it, I noticed that like you highlighted both doors. Why doesn't it become one item when you mirror something? Why are they still two separate doors?
Because that's the way AutoCAD works.
Okay. So you just have to make sure you highlight both items to move them together. Because I ran into that and I was like, why isn't it moving together? But I guess that makes sense. It just isn't an option.
Yeah.
Okay.
It is.
Thank you.
That's the bottom line. All right, so I have my doors in place. I need to add a mullion over here. And so I'll draw a line here from this corner down here, and I will just offset it 2 inches. And you know what? Why don't I mirror this too? So I'll mirror this mullion from this center point. I've got mullions, and what I'll do, I could trim this glass line, but what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use a grip edit. So I will select the line, and then click on this grip, and I'll just pull it back to the midpoint of that mullion. Beautiful. And then I will do the same over here. Okay, so now let's think about this baseboard here, right? So we've got a baseboard running along this wall, and when you're coming into the building or leaving out of the building, going out of the building, whoops, you don't want to trip over the baseboard, right? So what we need to trim that out. So where does that baseboard end? And the answer is it ends in line with this mullion here and this edge of this mullion here. So I'll just grip edit this, and I'll just extend this down. And now I will trim out all of this. So what happens, if you can visualize this, is sitting in front of the glazing. You know, there may actually be a windowsill here. It may not go all the way to the floor. And there is a baseboard here, but for the door, the door frame, which is right here, this mullion, it needs to go all the way to the floor, of the building. So the baseboard needs to stop before the door frame here. So this is the correct location of the edge of the baseboard, here and here. All right. So now I have this exit here, and I'm going to add an exit here that looks identical to this. So let's just copy or mirror it. I'll mirror it. I mean, I could do either, but I'll mirror it, and I will use the midpoint of this column here. Pull it across. No, do not edit the source object. So there it is, but now I just need to move this over one bay. So I'll move, and I'll just use my window selection here. And then I'll just click. I could click anywhere. I could click this column or the edge of the baseboard or the midpoint here. I'll just click here. And I just want to be consistent. So if I click on this column here, I want to click on this column here. All right. There we have the shell of our building. Ta-da, done. And we're ready to go. So when you are doing this for a, for a commercial building or residential building, the most important thing that you can do is get this accurate. And I mentioned it before, you need to have the base, the existing conditions of your building absolutely accurate, so that as you are designing, you want to design in an accurate, on an accurate building shell or building base plan. All right, so now we'll add the toilet rooms here. Any questions, by the way, this far? All right, so let me just pull this back, and here is, let me zoom in a little bit. So here's our toilet room, and let me check the dimensions here. So from the face of this column to the outside corner of this wall is 13 feet 5 inches. All right, and the same on this side, obviously. So from the face of the column, 13.5 to the outside of the toilet room walls. All right. And by the way, the interior partitions here will be 5 inches. So I think what I'll do is I'll just draw a line, and it's going to come from that corner, and it's going to come straight down. I'm going to switch to ortho, and it's going to come straight down 13 feet, 5 inches. And I will do the same over here. 13 feet, 5 inches. And then I'll connect the dots, I'll connect the two lines. And there I have the shell of my toilet room. So these walls will extend out towards the meat of the column, 5 inches. So I'll just hit offset and set my offset distance to 5. Offset that direction, offset this direction, and then this wall extends out into, you know, the main area of the space, not into the bathrooms themselves. So this will extend out 5 inches as well. And then I'll just fillet those corners. Beautiful. All right, so back to this. On the next sheet here, I have an enlarged plan. So let me just rotate this so we can see it a little better. Okay. So in the middle here, we have a chase wall. And that chase wall is 8 inches thick. Very often when you have plumbing in a public building, particularly when toilet fixtures and sinks are back to back, and this is called back to back, where, you know, the plumbing in the boys' room matches the plumbing in the girls' room. So so that wall very often will be thicker. And in this case, that plumbing chase wall is 8 inches. So if I were to draw a line from the midpoint of this horizontal line down, I could offset 4 inches this way and 4 inches that way, and then erase that middle line, and I would get an 8-inch wall. So let's do that. So I'll draw a line right from the midpoint, straight down, perpendicular to that line, and then offset. Half of 8 is 4, so offset 4 inches to the left, to the right, and then I'll just delete this. And there I have my 8-inch chase wall. Let's just double check. I'll click on the measure tool here, and there it is. It's 8 inches wide by 1311. Is that correct?
I think that bottom array should have been up. I was going to ask about that.
Hold on. Let me go back to my. No, all right, let's see. It's 13.5 from the face of the column to the outside corner. So let's double check that. Let's go to measure, and this time I'm gonna choose a distance measure here. So I'll click the face of the column there, all the way down to here, 1310. So yes, I goofed, didn't I? All right, so let's offset 5 inches. And let's clean this all up. I'm sure glad I double checked. And I'll get rid of that. And I will trim out, oops. Those partitions. Now I am going to leave this untrimmed here. And a lot of times what I'll do is in order to distinguish the exterior walls or the shell of the building with the interior partitions, although we're not building these toilet rooms, but I will often just leave that, leave the not trim that, so that there is a distinction between this exterior, you know, masonry partition or whatever this is versus this drywall partition down here. All right, let me do a triple check here now. From here to here, 13.5, we're right on the money. Okay, beautiful. So let's go back to here. All right, so now I have some toilet partitions here. I have a handicapped stall and then a regular stall. And what we are going to do is for these toilet partitions here, for the sake of clarity for this drawing, it says here 2-inch toilet partitions. So we're going to show these toilet partitions as 2 inches thick. In reality, you should know that toilet partitions are not 2 inches thick, they're 1 inch thick. But that's the way this is drawn here. So we're going to be consistent and do as we're told here. And I'm going to draw these toilet partitions 2 inches thick here. And also in a handicapped toilet stall, what you need to have is, in order to meet ADA, Americans with Disabilities, you need to have 5 feet. That toilet stall needs to be 5 feet wide, at least 5 feet wide. So so there's a 5-foot dimension here to let us know that. So we'll offset this 5 feet to create this toilet partition here. And then we'll offset 2 inches for the thickness of the toilet partition. And then the next toilet partition is 3 feet. So this regular toilet stall will be 3 feet. So we'll offset 3 feet and then 2 inches there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw one side complete or almost complete, and then we'll mirror it for the other side. Okay. So I'll start by offsetting 5 feet. And I will trim out that. My partition thickness is 2 inches, so I'll offset 2. And then the regular toilet stall is 3 feet wide, so I will offset 36 or 3 feet, either one. And then that partition is 2 inches. Good. And the depth of this regular toilet partition is 5 feet in this case. So I will offset another 5 feet in this direction. And let me do a little bit of trimming here. I'll trim that and that. And I'll offset 2 inches. Okay. And I can clean this up with fillet here. Good. So let's take one more look at those partitions over here. And let me zoom way in. So you'll notice, and when you use a public restroom, you'll notice that there's sometimes a gap between the partitions here. So we don't show the gap, but we do show a line so that when the toilet partition manufacturer is creating the toilet partitions, they know that this is one partition, and then there's a little partition here between the doors here and here. So we want to make sure that we show this little line here, and we want to make sure that that line is shown there. There's a little gap here, or a little 2-inch piece over here. So we want to make sure that those are clear, so that if we are designing this toilet room, and there very well may be the instance where you are designing a toilet room, you want to be able to identify where those toilet partitions are. So I'll move over here, and what I'm just going to do is I'm just going to use the grip edit here and just extend that over like that. and that's perfectly fine there. And I have a door here that is, or there's two little pieces of partition on both sides that are 6 inches. So I'll just offset 6 here, and I'll offset 6 here, and then I'll just do some trimming. Good. And then while I'm at it with the doors, there is a door into the handicap stall, and that door is 2 feet 8 wide. So let me draw the jamb so that I'm just going to offset 2 inches. And then I will offset 2 foot 8. And if you look on that page 2, that 2 foot 8 is shown there. And then I'll just trim up this stuff here. Okay. So now all I need to do is insert some doors. Well, I have some doors over here, so let's just copy one of them. Let's copy, select the door, and I will click on this hinge point here. And I'll turn my ortho off. And I'll select this hinge point right here. Okay. So the door is too wide, obviously. So let's just click this down to 2 foot 8. Great. But the thickness of the door jamb only goes to 4 inches here. So what do we do? Well, in this particular case, what we need to do is explode this block, because we can't get this door jamb down to 2 inches. So I'm just going to explode it. And there's 2 ways to explode. I can click on this little button here, explode, or I can, the keyboard shortcut is X for explode. And I just happen to type X, and I'll just click it. And now what it did, when I click on it, you'll see that it's the door arc is one piece, the door leaf is another piece, and these 2 jambs are a third piece. So I can trim those jambs, but I think I already have that line, so I'm just going to erase that and that. And there I have that door.
Paul, I have a quick question.
Sure.
Would you explode the door and do the same thing if you, for some reason, needed a door that was smaller than 2 feet? So like, say it was like some custom door that was 20 inches or something, a French door, you would explode it and just adjust the door size?
Yes, I would.
Okay.
Yeah, I would. So, all right. Now there's another door over here, but I'm not going to bore you with that, but you would do the same thing. You would copy it over and, adjust the size and explode it. But let's go on to the toilets. So let me go over to my blocks. And I'll click blocks from libraries here. Let me see here. I'll click on browse block libraries. And I'm in my USB drive here, and I'm in US 2D blocks. Let me just click on here. Let me see if I can find the right place. Bathroom. Yeah. Let me just go up. I'll just click. So in this case, I'm just gonna click on bathroom, and then I'll click open. And now what it did was it opened up those files that are in the bathroom folder. Let me do that again. Go back to libraries here. Now there's another. Let me close this. So there's another folder here, or a file here that says a bath and laundry faucets, and in it are a whole bunch of additional blocks. And I think this is, I forget who it was, maybe Kate, that had this question.
Yes, thank you.
So you could take this and pull the whole thing into your document. And then you could go over to insert here. You could go over to insert here and oh no, I guess those blocks are not embedded in. So so let me not do that. So what I will do is now that I know that this file is the bath and laundry faucets, so I'll go back and browse my my block library here, and here it is, bath and laundry faucets. And I'm not sure why I have two of them, but okay. So I'll select that and then open. And now all of those blocks within that file have opened up individually. So now I can pull in, you know, a sink faucet or whatever it is that I want to use and pull it right into my drawing. Okay. So I will need a sink faucet, so I'll just leave that pulled in. But right now I want to do toilets. So let me go back here and let's see what toilets gives me. So there it is. All right, so I'll just pull in my toilet. And I'm going to add a toilet over here and also some grab bars. So let me just see here. Check my notes. Make sure I have them. So the grab bars, all right, let's see if I can find them. Architectural elements.
I think I saw them in that bathroom folder. It
You
said
did?
36 and 42 grab bars.
Yes, thank you. I need more coffee. All right, so I'm going to need a 36-inch grab bar, so I'll just pull that in right now. And I need a 42-inch grab bar. I'll pull that in. And I'll need a sink. So I'm just going to pull in all of my blocks right now, so I have them and I don't have to keep going back to my blocks palette. And I'll just pull this over here. I'm going to dock it. And there's a little button right here where I can collapse it if I want. So I'll just click it. So my blocks are here, and if I hover over it, it'll expand. And then when I hover back out, it'll collapse. All right. So now let's talk about proper placement of toilet fixtures. In a public building, such as this, a toilet is located, particularly a handicapped toilet, is located between 13 and 15 inches, I'm sorry, 15 and 18 inches from the back corner of the toilet stall. So as a rule, what I do is I locate my toilets 18 inches from that back corner. So if I offset a line here, 18 inches into this space, I should be able to locate this toilet so that the center line of the toilet is 18 inches from the back corner. Similarly, since I'm right here, for the 36-inch grab bar, I will usually offset that. This part of the grab bar here will offset from this back corner 6 inches. And I will usually, not always, but usually offset the longer, the 42-inch grab bar, 12 inches from this back corner. So 18 inches for the toilets, 6 inches for the shorter 36-inch grab bar, and 12 inches for the larger, the 42-inch grab bar. Okay, so let's do a little offsetting here. And I'll start with the toilet. So I'll just offset 18 inches or 1'6". So that will mark the center point of my toilet. So the first thing I'll do is I'll rotate the toilet. I'll turn on my ortho here so that it's 90 degrees. And now I will move the toilet, and I'm going to look for the center line of that back wall. And also you'll notice that when I hover over here, AutoCAD is snapping to the insertion point. See, it says insert, and that's the insertion point of that block. So, and that happens to be on the midpoint. So I'll just click on it. And then I'm going to look for the intersection. There it is, the intersection of the back wall and that center line. Now I have my toilet in place. All right, next, let's do the 36-inch grab bar. So I no longer need this center line, so I'll just erase that. And I will offset 6 inches. Now, this intersection will be the center line of the grab bar, where the grab bar attaches to the wall. So let's find the grab bar. First, it's positioned correctly. Good. So I'm going to move this grab bar, and I'm going to choose this midpoint, the midpoint of the grab bar. This is the point. This edge here is where the grab bar actually touches the wall. I'm going to choose that midpoint, and I'll turn my ortho off, and I will move it to this intersection right there. And these are, I'm seeing the two on top of each other, and that's perfectly fine. I don't need to trim that out, or I won't be able to trim it out anyway because they're blocks, but it's totally fine. So I no longer need that guideline. And now I need one more guideline that's offset 12 inches or foot this direction. And that is for the 42-inch grab bar. So I'll move this grab bar from the midpoint, that point right there, and I will move it to this endpoint right there. Erase that. And my handicap toilet is looking good. There's one more thing that I need for the handicap toilet, and that is the you need the wheelchair symbol, or the turning radius. And let me see, that is in the symbols folder. So let me go back over to here. Click on this. I'm going to go up, and I'm going to look for symbols. Hit open. And let's see, there it is, wheelchair. I'll just drag that in. And I want to move that more or less into place. And I really, I get it's close enough, but I'll just move this quadrant here so it's right up on that partition there. So what the 5-foot turning radius is, if you're unfamiliar with it, you'll show it a lot in ADA situations. And what it does is it assures that a person in a wheelchair can turn their wheelchair around. So we've, I don't know how they've done it, but they've established, or they've decided that any person in a wheelchair should be able to rotate their wheelchair 360 degrees within a 5-foot turning radius. So very often you'll show that turning radius. Less often you'll actually show the person in the wheelchair, and usually you'll just show the circle, the 5-foot turning radius. But in this case, we have it in the block, so we'll just show it. All right. So we have another toilet here. I'm not gonna get into that one right now, but we have a door into the room. So let's, I think what I'll do is extend this down and I'll offset 2 inches. And then just trim that. Then offset 36 inches. And then offset another 2. And I'll just pull this door right in. So I'll just copy this door and I'll go from where the hinge is, that intersection right there, to where the hinge belongs on this frame here, right there. And I just need to adjust the depth of the door frame to 5 inches. It's already at 36 inches. I'll just trim this out. I've got that door. All right. So the last thing we've got in our toilet room here is a vanity. And we've got 2 sinks in the vanity. The depth of the vanity is 1'10". So what we'll do is we'll offset 1'10", plop in one sink, and then from the midpoint of the vanity here, we'll just mirror, we'll do a mirror line, and we'll have that sink in place, and they'll both be equal, you know, with respect to the edges of the vanity. All right. So let's offset 1'10". Do a little trimming. Let's get rid of this piece of line there. So there's our vanity. I've already got a faucet here, so let's kind of move that so that it's sort of centered on the vanity there, and I'll just move it back. I'll turn my ortho on so I'm moving exactly vertically. And let's rotate 90 degrees. And now let's move it into place. I'll just pick a point, turn my ortho off, and move it. Uh-oh. So clearly, this sink does not fit in this vanity. So we need to scale it down. And there is a tool in AutoCAD called Cleverly Scale. And it just allows us to change the size of an object very easily based on either a number value that we give it, or you can just sort of drag and change the scale of an object. So let's change the scale of this sink. And I want to think about the base point, where I want it to reduce from. And I would choose the middle, but I think what I want is I want to maintain this edge here. So, and I want to bring it in. So we'll hold on this side, and we'll just bring it in this direction. So this will be my base point of where I scale. And you'll see how it works in just a second. So I'll just click scale here. And I believe the shortcut command is SC. Let me just see. SC. Yes. So either click here or SC. Click the object I want to scale. I don't want to scale the faucet. I just want to scale the sink itself. And it's asking me to select objects down here. And so I'm done selecting objects. I'll just hit my space bar or enter. And now it's asking me to specify the base point of where the scale is going to start from. And I'm just going to choose this quadrant right here, this point right here. And now I can drag, you'll see that point stays where it is, but the rest of the of the vanity changes and moves as I drag. So I can just sort of fit it the way I want it, or I can give it a number. So what would be the number? The number would be, so one, a scale of one means its original size, what it actually is. And anything greater than one, it will scale it bigger. And anything less than one, it will scale it smaller. So if I say, I don't know, 0.8, let's just see how that looks. Well, actually, that was pretty darn good. That was perfect. So I scaled it at 0.8 and I just hit enter and it scaled down for me. Or I could have dragged it in, and just visually sort of set the scale of it. Now, in reality, right, when you're going to be choosing sinks, right? You'll go into a catalog, Kohler or someplace, and you'll choose a sink, and that sink will have a size, and then you'll set the sink to an exact size. But for the purposes of this exercise, I'm just introducing you to scale, and we're just scaling that sink down. Now I'm just going to mirror it, because we need two sinks. So MI for mirror, and I'll select the sink and the faucet. I'll just choose the midpoint here, and I'll turn on my ortho. Erase source objects, no thank you. And there I have it. So that, in essence, is my toilet room. Now you'll need to add, another toilet or copy this toilet over. The toilet should be centered on in this stall, this toilet stall. You'll add another, another door and pull it in, make it a 24-inch door, explode it so you can get rid of the jams, and then mirror the whole thing. And you should have your building shell done. Now I will go over to my A-size portrait. So why am I going to A-size portrait? Well, in general, I guess this is relatively square. So I guess not relatively, it is exactly square, but I guess we could go in either direction. But I think the A-size portrait gives us a little bit more room. Yes, somebody had a question.
Yeah, I have a quick question. When you're mirroring the whole thing, what would be the point to select so it does it properly?
Well, what do you think? What would you do?
So you're just picking the center point on the other line of that wall?
So if I were taking all of these objects, right? I'll just mirror some of this stuff here. Where would be the point that you would mirror from? You couldn't really mirror from this line here, because if you notice the midpoint is there, and the reason is because this door is cut, so this line actually just goes from here to here. But this line back here goes all the way across. Or you could, if you weren't sure and you wanted to measure along the midpoint of this the chase wall here, you could draw a temporary line and then mirror from that point there, that line there. So I know I'm being deliberately a little bit elusive about where it is, but I kind of told you the answer. So yeah, you kind of have to figure out where is the point that you need to draw that mirror line from.
Okay, thank you.
So the last part is to get a viewport in here. And if I click on layout, I can go to rectangular viewport, or I could type from the shortcut command MV for make viewport. And I'll just click. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to I'm actually going to go from that intersection to this intersection because I think it fills up this whole thing. So there is my my object in the viewport, and the first thing I'm going to do is go over here and put this on my viewports layer. And the next thing I will do is select the scale. And the correct scale for this should, 1/8 of an inch should fit. So I'll just click on 1/8 inch here. And it's zoomed up a little bit, but I'm going to need to do some panning. So I'll just double click in my viewport, and then I will pan so that all of the drawing fits. Just like that. Good. And the next step, anyone care to volunteer?
Lock your viewport.
Thank you. Lock your viewport. That way, now I can't pan in my viewport. I can't change the scale. The viewport is locked. So when I click on it, you'll see that 1/8 of an inch is the scale, and that is the correct scale. And it's also grayed out. AutoCAD says, you can't change that scale. So you want to make sure that that viewport is locked. And this is where you do it, that little lock right there. All right, and the last thing that we're going to do is add a couple quick dimensions. So I'll go over to my dimensions layer. And I'll go over to annotate. And I'm going to choose, I'll double click in my viewport. I want to make sure that I'm in my viewport. I'll click linear. And I want to dimension from center line to center line of that column. Comme ça. Oops, you know what? Okay, I did something wrong here. Let me undo here. Okay, my viewport is on the viewports layer. Good. So now let me change to the dimensions layer. Go over to annotate. Double click inside my viewport. Click linear. And get this dimension down center to center. Good. And the last dimension I want to add is from the face of this column to the outside corner of the toilet room. So I'll choose linear dimension. 13.5. I'll double click to get back into paper space. And then you want to fill this out. Save your drawing, and you're home free. Questions?
I just have a question about the way that the bathroom, like in our notes, we have, the drawing that has the zoomed in version of the toilet room.
Yes.
If we wanted to make a second sheet of that to show those detailed dimensions, would we just add, and if we wanted to do that, if we wanted to create that in AutoCAD, would that be a whole new project, or would it be
No.
possible to do it in the same?
No. Who's asking that question? I'm just curious.
Natalie.
Okay. No, you don't have to do that in a separate drawing. So what you would do is you would create another viewport, or in this case, it would just be in our landscape. And you do not, this is not part of your homework. You don't have to do that, but I'll just show you here. So I'm going to go to landscape here. And I will create a new layout. I'll just click on layout and rectangular. There is my my whole plan. First thing I want to do is put this on the viewports layer so I don't forget. And now for this, I'm going to change this to 1/4 inch scale because we're going to zoom in closer. So I will change my scale to 1/4 inch. Find it. There it is. Do some panning. Double click here. And now I have a zoomed in view of that detail of the toilet rooms here. So that's on my A-size landscape, and on my A-size portrait, I would have 1/8 inch shows the whole building, and 1/4 inch scale shows the the enlarged toilet room. So let's just say I wanted to let's mirror these sinks here, right? Okay, so I'll just mirror, and I'll select the sinks, and I'll choose this point here for my mirror line. Go over here. So now I have sinks in both toilet rooms, right? When I go back to my A-size portrait view, lo and behold, there they are. They're there too. So the nice thing is anything we do in one, as we make changes or edit our design, if we have a enlarged view, those changes will appear. We don't have to keep redrawing things. And this is one of the beautiful things about AutoCAD, is that you don't, once you just sort of draw it once, and then you can change scales of it. Maybe I wanted to have a door detail. I could zoom in just at that door and maybe, show the door frame, and I don't know, but you can change those. Each of those viewports act independently and will show a certain area of your plan at a certain scale. So
Okay,
yeah.
and then if you wanted to do the dimensions just on that enlarged one, so they don't show on every page, would you have to make another dimension layer that goes on and off just for that drawing?
That is correct. You would. And you know what? We're actually going to talk about that next week.
Okay, awesome.
So
Thank you.
yeah, but yes, you're correct. There would be dimensions for 1/8 inch scale drawings, and then there would be another dimension layer for 1/4 inch scale 1/4 inch scale details. So yes, you would. And the same would go for text as well. Yeah. So your mission is to duplicate this shell of this building exactly the way I have it here, and get it as accurate as you can, because that is what we will be using as our base for next week. So next week, what we're going to do is we're going to add interior partitions. We're going to add workstations. We're going to add desks and offices and plants and millwork, and annotate each of the rooms, et cetera, et cetera. So next week actually is we'll take a lot more time next week than we are today. So we'll be covering a lot next week. So that is your goal for next week. Any questions? Can I stop sharing? So unless you have anything else, that's all I have for you today. Get your base or your shell of your building down perfectly for next week, and that's it.